right, welcome to a whole new episode of the Such Florida High School Scoreboard Show. I am Dan LaForest. That is AJ Brooks. We are live on Varsity Sports Nation. Baylin Trujillo will be joining us here shortly. He's having some technical issues, but we're glad everybody got through. Everybody got through the hurricane situation. So much to talk about last week. Obviously, nobody really played. Some of the games got made up on Monday night, had a couple games last night. But the FHSA has come out and added a week 12 to the schedule so that can help coordinate getting all these district games in and situated before we start the playoffs. Literally in 4 weeks now, guys.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think that the season is moving this fast.
Yeah, a lot happening. A lot to talk about. Before we know it, we're going to have National Signing Day. Everybody's going to be excited about their commitments. Is everybody going to stay true to their commitment, or are they going to be flipping? There's so much to talk about here over the next few weeks. Well, guys, let's get right into it. We're going to have a shortened version tonight. Obviously, we're not going to have Dudes of the Week. We will have our big hits live, top 10 poll. We will have a look at this Friday night's big games. We got some huge matchups this week, guys. So let's get right into it, and let's start with this right here was played last night. Osceola goes into Viera and takes care of the Hawks 49-9, AJ.
Yeah, they dominated. I know Elijah Jenkins, AJ scored a touchdown on special teams, so they were able to showcase all facets of their game, all three phases, in a dominating fashion for sure.
Baylin Osceola, now 5-2, seems to be getting that momentum at the right time of the season. We're past that midway point. They're kind of getting things together as they start making that run for the playoffs. They now clinch their division.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I loved Osceola when I saw them play against Jones. I thought they were really the real deal. They got a couple of good ones to finish off the season. And they're usually a team that we talk about. You don't want to play them in the second half. The way the first half started, it was almost like another letdown year. But, the Cowboys have responded really well. They're putting on some blowout fashion games. And
we just lost Baylin. Again, he's having some technical difficulties. We'll get him popped right back in here. But, AJ, let's just move on. Let's talk about this one. This one was pretty close. And we got Baylin back here. Baylin. And we lost Baylin again. So, obviously, we've got some issues there. Here he comes. All right, so there's Baylin. Baylin, O'Galley edges Merritt Island to stay undefeated at 7-0. The Mustangs fall to 5-2, but 27-20, AJ.
Yeah, you're looking at a pretty good game. I guess you would say it's a rivalry game. It's a county game. Two teams, quality opponents. EG was able to pull off the victory with some key stops late in the game. But, yeah, that had to have been a fantastic game. I would have loved to have been at that one for sure.
No doubt, Baylin.
Yeah, Joseph Allen, I believe he threw a game-winning touchdown here. 27-20, great game. Merritt Island's a lot better than probably we give them credit for. At least I, myself, give them credit for. Their win last week against Ed White was very impressive. And then obviously they just fall by 7 to arguably one of the best teams in that area compared to Cocoa. I think those are the two top programs over there right now in the Cocoa area. But O'Galley, they continue to have an O on their record because they don't lose. So good teams find a way to win even if it's close, and that's what they did.
No doubt about it. This was tied up at 20 with a few minutes left in the game. So, again, congratulations to the Commodores. They stay 7-0, and they're moving on. Guys, we were all at this game. I mean, everybody was at this game. You had John Santucci from the USA Today. You had Andy Villamarzo come up from the Tampa area with SB Live. Three of us were there. This was the district championship. Lake Mary takes care of business at Seminole, 29-14, AJ.
Yeah, it was a rivalry game. Obviously, it's unfortunate that Seminole didn't have their quarterback, Michael Clayton. I think it would have turned out to have been even a more terrific ball game. But Lake Mary did what they're supposed to do. They handled business on the road. I think I saw Baylin tweet that it was the first time that they beat Seminole in the regular season in the 9 years. So that's a big streak to snap. But for Seminole, it's unfortunate because they have to bounce right back Friday, and they have another tough opponent in TFA. So Hopefully Michael Clayton gets back healthy. If I were them, I would rest him, get him ready for the postseason. These games right now, they mean something, but not as much as the postseason. So let's hope that he gets better and comes back sooner than later.
You know, Baylin, this has been a series that we have, as football fans across Central Florida, have loved the last few years. Last year, you had a comeback win by Seminole against Lake Mary. Lake Mary was controlling that game till the second half. This is such a big game. Standing room only for the last several years that we've been at that game. The crowd did not disappoint Friday night either.
Yeah, no, and this is obviously, I think this is the best atmosphere I've ever been to the last couple of years. It has always been the best. Standing room only. Both sidelines are packed. I mean, this is a rivalry, and a true rivalry, because both teams are at the top in Central Florida. And I mean, AJ did make a funny comment, even though we knew the circumstances before the game. I know some coaches were maybe talking to AJ saying, thank goodness you guys didn't have a show this week, because we would have got on Baylin. Well, I would have still picked Lake Mary, and Lake Mary won the game regardless of the circumstance. So there was 3 drop passes in the end zone. Lake Mary could have really opened this thing up. Obviously, Michael Clayton did not play. That's something that I didn't even know until the game. AJ sent a text to us, so I was obviously very excited to see, obviously, Michael versus Noah in a head-to-head matchup. That's never happened. So I was really excited to see that. Unfortunately, Michael does have an injury. Hopefully he's back this week against TFA, but we did not see it. But I want to, give a shout out to Jason Williams. He stepped in, at 150 pounds, 6 foot, 150 pounds, in the biggest, game of the season at that point. Obviously, this does mean something, because this is obviously for district championship and home field advantage. Yeah. Lake Mary does get that now, snapping a 9-game losing streak at Seminole in the regular season. They obviously beat Seminole at Seminole 2 years ago in the playoffs to knock them off. Noah was a freshman then. But, man, Lake Mary, like I said, it could have been worse than this with the 3 drop touchdowns that led to field goals. Seminole played, that's still their defense. Whether Michael played or not, it's still Seminole's #1 defense versus Lake Mary's #1 offense. I felt like Lake Mary did not give up a sack again against cover 0 pretty much the entire night. They were coming and didn't touch Noah at all. So just shows you how good Lake Mary is up front on both the offense and defensive line. I just don't understand. I'm looking for adjustments for Seminole because I know, a lot of people are watching tape on Noah and they just never made it. And Noah just sat comfortably back there and played a pretty good game. A lot of great catches. Chase Henshaw had probably one of the catches of the year, fading away to his back right before halftime. Crazy catch over Ethan Pritchard, FSU commit. So great job to them. But again, this is a showdown. This is the best of the best. This is why we get excited for these football games. Coach Calhoun is a competitive guy, and I know he loves this game. Same with, the coaches over at Lake Mary, Coach Donnelly. I've just loved this rivalry, and I can't wait to see it again in the playoffs.
Yeah, no doubt about it. There's so many armchair quarterbacks out there. At the end of the day, you have to put this thing in perspective, right? We had a storm coming in Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. There was no practice. There was limited practice time. You mentioned Michael Clayton, and I know Michael's probably watching. We hope you get healthy soon, buddy. There's so much good football ahead of you. Playoffs, like AJ said, I think there's so much there. But again, to be able to take your backup quarterback and to get him into that game plan with limited time, I thought Seminole played fairly well on offense with all things considering. And like I said, it was just like Mary's night. And I have a feeling we might see them match up in the playoffs when it's all said and done.
It's happening.
So let's just stay tuned there. All right, let's talk about the big one in Lake County. Tavares comes into Mount Dora, and the Hurricanes keep that home field advantage and basically become the kings of Lake County at win 15-12, AJ.
Well, Leesburg might have something to say about that, but Mount Dora definitely pulled out this victory. If we had a show, I probably would have picked Mount Dora. I'm just their games. I think that kid is so dynamic. He's one of the leading rushers in the state as a junior. And obviously Tavares, they have Mr. Williams, who is a household name. So I would have just loved to see that matchup all night. But Mount Dora handled business. And we'll see how they continue this success at 6-1. See if they could ride the wave into the postseason.
Baylin, let's talk about Leesburg for 1 minute. Leesburg actually wins their home game against Gainesville, 1 point, 35-34. So we don't want to discount Leesburg at all. Leesburg, Coach Scott, everybody over there has had a wonderful season. But this was the key matchup in Lake County. And again, the coaching staff over at Mount Dora, the players over there, congratulations on that big win. It is a big win. And we'll see what comes up next week. All right, guys, here's another one. Evans takes out Wekiva 39-21. Evans is on the 5-2. We'll talk about their big matchup here in a few minutes as well, AJ.
Yeah, Evans, this is a team that I've been in love with for the last 2 years or so. Carlos Odom and staff have done a terrific job. They're a run-based offense. They have two terrific running backs, D4, Ladarius Pryor, Jr., then they also have Cam Oliver, who's a senior. If I read off some of these stats, D4 had 34 carries for 173 yards and 3 touchdowns. He doesn't have games like that often. I think a couple games ago, he only had 12 carries. So games like this, when you need a big bruiser like that, I believe Evans was up 27-0 at the end of the first quarter, going into the second quarter. So they snatched this game right away and just, carried that momentum to the end.
No doubt about it. That is amazing information right there. Baylin, Evans continues to gain momentum. They were in our top 10 last week.
Yeah, and they're going to be in our top 10 this week. This is a team that we talked about early in the season. If they can get hot, this is like a fan favorite team that people want to talk about that we haven't in recent years. They finally got the right guy in Coach Odom. I think he is doing a fantastic job with the program, getting those kids to buy in. Obviously, I feel like ever since the Jones loss, which they've won 5 straight in blowout fashions each of the last 5 weeks, they've gotten a belief in them that they can actually hang with the big guys. And, they're a couple possessions away from beating Jones. And, that would be insane. And then they lost to Popco, I believe, 6-3 or something crazy.
6-0.
Yeah, 6-0, in which they were in the red zone 3 times with no points. They could have 4 times. This team could be sitting here at 7-0 with 2 massive victories under their belt. But obviously, Apopka and Jones did win. But man, Evans is a team that people better be watching out for. There is a big test this Friday night. This could be a remarkable, I would say, resume building win if this happens. We'll talk about that game later in predictions, but Evans right now obviously is one of my favorite teams to talk about, Dan and AJ, and I believe we don't give enough credit to Nazir McMillan, the quarterback transfer over there. He's starting to play within his zone now. I know early he struggled a little bit. They relied a lot on those 2 horses back there, but now he's starting to pick up in the passing game, and that's when you become real dangerous. And the last 2 games, he's played lights out and not turned the ball over in the air. I'm telling you, if they can win in all 3 phases, this team is scary.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And you guys have heard me say in the past, you don't know who you are till week 3, but you definitely know who you are by week 7. And guess where we are, guys? We're at the end of week 7. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we got the new Big Hits Live Talk 10. You're watching the Central Florida High School Scoreboard Show. We'll be back right after this. All right, welcome back to the Central Florida High School Scoreboard Show. I'm Dan LaForest. That is AJ Brooks and Baylin Trujillo. And guys, the Big Hits Live, new top 10. Let's start, Baylin, with number 10, 5-2 Evans, sitting right there, followed by number 9, Bishop Moore at 6-1, 8, O'Galley at 7-0. Number 7, Edgewater at 6-2. They had a big win over Winter Springs, I believe, this week in a district. Yep. They clinched your district this week as well.
Yep, district champs.
Yep.
Cocoa in at number 6 at 3-3, guys. Seminole falls down a few spots here. They're at 6-1 at number 5. Lake Mary moves up to number 4 at 5-2. Dr. Phillips now is in that 3rd spot, undefeated at 6-0. They got a big one coming up. Number 2 is now TFA at 6-1. And then the number 1 team in Central Florida is Jones, currently undefeated at 6-0. Big game coming up this week, guys. Your take on this top 10, AJ?
I like it. Coco, I'm gonna be honest. It's a big question mark for me for Coco this year. TFA and Dr. Phillips, those two I think could have went either way. But yeah, this is a very strong. And EG, I don't know. I think EG might be a little too low, but this is I think this is the right 10 teams. And I will add Osceola could be creeping on the door in there somewhere. Oviedo is another strong team.
OC University.
University, Orange Center, Merritt Island before they just lost to an undefeated EG. So this is a quality top 10 for sure.
Spruce Creek still got to be in that discussion.
Spruce Creek, forget about.
Dude, there is so much. Let's say I really wish we could go to a top 20, but it would take them half the show.
Yes,
we got done with that, right? Now, guys, we have and Baylin, again, your take on the top 10.
Yeah, I think AJ said it perfectly. I mean, you look at it, like I said, I think 1 through 5 is pretty solid. Just based off head-to-head matchups, that's pretty much why they're ranked where they are. Dr. Phil's beat Lake Mary beat Seminole. TFA is a big one this week to really shake some things up with Seminole. Let's see if Michael Clayton can come back for that game. And then Jones, they've beaten pretty much everybody that they faced in the top 10 so far. I think the one that's really creeping up is Edgewater. That's a team that they've slowly, because they went from top 3 to number 10, and they've kind of reached, back into number 7, climbing up. They got a massive game this week versus Dr. Phillips, so that'll be interesting. But I think when you look at the top 10 from top to bottom, like AJ said, regardless of where you place these guys, and yeah, that includes Coco at 3-3. Let's be honest, their 3 losses are against the top teams in the state of Florida. Norland just beat Heritage. That's a massive program. Obviously, IMG shouldn't even be considered because they've got so much talent over there. They should just be on a national ranking list, not even a Florida ranking list. And then you got Venice, who is the number 1 team in public school in the state of Florida. So when you add those 3 losses, I mean, those are tough. I guarantee all 3 of those teams could beat every single one of our top 10s, or at least give them problems.
But you can't brag about playing national teams and then lose.
I agree. No, I'm just talking about. But we're gonna
does you no good.
Strength the schedule. A 3-loss team to Coco is a lot better than some of these, 2 losses that we have on here. So let's not even do that.
And let's be real. We are taking into consideration head-to-head, who we believe would win in a head-to-head matchup. There's a lot of things that come into that consideration in a top 10.
Yeah.
But I want to focus over to something, and I don't want to start any controversy here, but I think we have to look at this private school section a little differently moving forward. And I'm going to tell you why. You start taking a look at independent schools. You've got Windermere undefeated right now.
I like that. Yeah, Windermere is legit.
So maybe we look at small private schools / independents, because we're seeing programs being built that have allowed themselves to create some culture. And I've been talking about this for a number of years now, is how we have gotten away from community and school spirit and building culture and so worried about winning state championships. I want to point out, we talked about district champions tonight. District championship should be celebrated. If you won your district championship this week, celebrate that. That is a huge deal. That's like winning the SEC. You got to celebrate winning the SEC before you start talking about a national championship, right? Celebrate what you have achieved. And I think district championships are a big deal. Let's talk about that top 3, because we got a big matchup.
Dan, yes, if you want to do that, let's celebrate it. So I think right now we have Bishop Moore, they're district champions. Congratulations to them. Then we have Edgewater just won their district championship. So congratulations to Edgewater. And Lake Mary just won their district championship. I believe Jones will win. If they beat Lake Wales this week, they'll be the district champions. I don't think TFA has any district, right? They're not. Or they actually they do. They
do. They're in there with MCC. They're in there with OCP. So I believe they are district champions as well now. Because again, a lot of these districts are ridiculous with 3 teams, 4 teams.
Yeah.
I've actually had this discussion with FHSA officials of there should be a minimum of 5 teams in a district.
Period. I agree.
Okay.
Or at least 4. I like 4, but 5 would be awesome.
5 would be awesome.
The only thing, Dan, that I would counter with the private school independent is because independents can't play these. They don't play each other. So if there was ever like a head-to-head, like maybe a Masters versus Windermere or something like that.
There's the discussion.
That would be great, but I don't think
there's the discussion. Now we're talking about how we future schedule. I think that's it. You saw TMA play Lake Howell earlier this year, right? You could see a Mount Dora Christian playing a Windermere and so on. That's why I wanted to bring up this discussion, because with the evolution of what we're seeing, I think there are scheduling possibilities here that really make this a fun discussion moving forward.
I agree. Okay. Maybe.
I agree.
If they do it. Nobody wants to see Windermere right now, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, Windermere.
I'll tell you what, you got to be happy about that. And again, look at I think Winter Springs, hasn't won a game prior to the season, and they've got a winning season going on this year. So, there's a lot of continuity. All right, guys. Well, listen, we got some big matchups to talk about when we come back, and we're going to have a shortened show tonight, but we got a lot to talk about with Week 8 on the horizon here, literally in 48 hours. You are watching the Central Florida High School Scoreboard Show right here on Varsity Sports Nation, and we'll be back with the predictions right after this. All right, welcome back to the Central Florida High School Scoreboard Show. I'm Dan LaForest. That is AJ Brooks and Baylin Trujillo. And let's get right into these big matchups here in Week 8, here this Friday night. And this is two teams that we talked about here not literally 5 minutes ago. OC University at 5-1 heads over to Oviedo. The Lions are 5-1. This right here, I think, is going to be a great matchup, AJ.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very good matchup. I just think that the Titans have one too many horses. So I'm going to roll with the Titans to go to Oviedo on the road and snatch that victory from those boys.
Baylin?
Yeah, I agree with AJ here. I love Oviedo and what they're doing offensively. I've said that before with Coach O. I think that offense is very explosive. But when you're going against a team like OC University with Malachi Walters, it's going to come down to quarterback play for both these teams and consistent quarterback play versus both defenses. And if I had to choose right here in this matchup, which I believe is very evenly matched as far as obviously record base and strength of schedule, I'm going to go with the quarterback that I know is dynamic and that's going to put on a show every single night. And I think that's Malachi Walters. So I'm going to put it on University OC to take the W this week.
I think these are strong predictions, but I do not want to discount the fact that they've got to play in Oviedo. And Oviedo is another one of those hometown crowds. That community comes out. I think this is going to be a heck of an environment, and Oviedo is going to have something to say about that this Friday night. All right, guys, another big game. Number 7 Edgewater, 6-2.
So you picking Oviedo?
I'm sorry?
So you picking Oviedo?
I don't pick. I'm just
saying it sounds like you picked Oviedo just then.
I just brought up a talking point that it is an incredible
There's the politician, Dan, brother.
in Oviedo, man. I mean,
yeah, I know Oviedo.
Yeah. All right. So Edgewater, number 7, 6-2. This is a big matchup, guys. Add Dr. Phillips. Dr. Phillips has already knocked off Lake Mary this year. They wanted that other quality matchup, non-district game. They are going to give us that matchup this Friday night. Both of you guys like DP in this game.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, I always feel like a traitor when I pick against Edgewater or Bishop Moore. But
I mean, both of you guys, and I got to bring this up. I played at a pop guy. Everybody knows that. But no, AJ, you played at Bishop Moore and Edgewater. Baylin played at Boone and Oak Ridge.
So my heart is split.
Man.
But I just think that this Dr. Phillips team is special, man. And it's just something about them. When I saw them against Lake Mary, I saw a team that competed in all 3 phases of football. A lot of people forget about special teams, but in that Lake Mary game, I can remember 3 drives where Dr. Phillips started at the 50 or plus territory. That's a big deal. And I just think that the senior leadership, Stanley, Kale, Kai, I just think those boys will be ready at home, and it's going to be crazy. That's going to be a crazy environment. So I do like Dr. Phillips. Coach Wells, he's proven. I mean, he got a state championship, so he knows what it takes. and I think they win.
I think this could end up being the biggest matchup this Friday night based on what we know today and not 2 or 3 days ago.
Dude, this one is gosh, I was not expecting my boy AJ to pull one here, but I know he likes DP. I just thought he was going to roll with the Eagles, but this was tough for me. I love both coaching staffs. I'm so close with Dr. Phillips and their coaching staff. I mean, I'm going out every Saturday pretty much with Coach Wells and meeting up with Coach Sapp, and we conversate a lot. I love those guys, but I really think this team is different. Like AJ said, this team is a little different this year. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it, but when I watch them play Lake Mary, I think they got all the pieces in the right places to be a special team. And, and they're playing together as a unit. There's really no mischemistry on the sidelines. Everybody's playing for each other. Edgewater, oh my goodness, I don't even remember the last time I picked against Edgewater in a game except for when they played Jones. This is like the first time I'm ever doing this, and this is feeling awkward because I think Cam Duke's going to have these guys ready to roll at Dr. Phillips. So, again, this is one of those 50-50 flip of coins. But right now, based on what I saw, because I've been to way more DP games this year, and what I saw against Lake Mary, this team's for real. And at DP, that's pretty much why I'm going the Dr. Phillips way. It's hard to win at Dr. Phillips, and when they're rolling like they are, man, this is going to be tough, man. So I like the Panthers for the win here.
I tell you what, you look at this game on the surface, right? You're talking about really good quarterback play. Carter Emanuel for the Eagles, Stanley Anderson for the Panthers. But is the difference maker a young man named Joshua Perry, the running back at Edgewater? I think we're going to have to wait and see what happens Friday night because this is a big game. And you were talking about the feel of Dr. Phillips right now. If you're looking at that feel, when was the last time Dr. Phillips had that feel?
No, it's been a while.
I don't want to upset Coach Wells, but didn't they win a state championship a while back when that feel was going around?
That's a special team.
I don't want to talk about the no-hitter when you're throwing a no-hitter, but at the end of the day, like I said, I think this is a huge matchup. This is a bigger matchup than a lot of people think for Friday night.
But I'll tell you what, man. I'll tell you, dude, it's like I feel weird now. I really do look at these logos. I mean, because we're talking about a team that's now coming back on the rise, but we're talking about on the other side a team that's been consistently at the top, and to see 2 losses even from Edgewater, we haven't seen that in a long time, right? They had 2 straight years of undefeated seasons. So it's like, it's just interesting to see how these things play out. But man, Edgewater, I still believe, can obviously win this football game. And I think Cam Duke's going to use this as some fuel to really make a statement. But I'm with AJ right now. I think Dr. Phillips is something special going on over there, man. I don't know what it is.
Well, and the other thing too is there's a difference between losing and getting beat. And I don't think Edgewater's gotten beat yet this year. I mean, they've played their 2 losses against really good
Even
programs.
When they lose,
so
they haven't really been beat. I mean, Jones was a pretty lopsided a couple years ago in the playoffs, but other than that, they don't really get beat. It's
exactly. Like I said, there's a big difference there, and I think we're going to be talking a lot about this game next Wednesday night. To be honest with you. All right, another big one. We were hinting toward this. Lake Mary, now our number 4 team, is going to Pine Hills. And we have talked about Evans. We've talked about what they have accomplished so far this year. Guys, both teams 5-2. It's all coming down. This one is big for both programs, AJ.
Yes, sir. I think the key matchup in this is going to be Evans, defensive backs, Devontae Grant, Xavier Bryant, Mari Peterson. We saw how they were able to gel against Jones, and Darion is Darion, but they were able to somewhat contain Darion. That was a very good showing from them. So when I saw how strong they played versus Jones, and to go on a 5-game win streak since then, and I mean they blew out West Orange. They just beat Wakava. They're just on a roll right now. So I like Evans at home. That's another team that has that feel that they're coming back. They're back on the rise, and that was always a dominant program in the past. And I think that Odom and the crew will be ready Friday, and they understand how big this matchup is. And I think they're gonna upset Lake Mary. So that's why I'm going with Evans.
Baylin.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if Evans did something crazy on Friday night and beat Lake Mary. It wouldn't surprise. I mean, I'm very high on Evans, and I talked to even Coach Odom today. Sending a simple text like, man, just so proud of the program and what he's doing there, and just making sure he's staying tuned in what we're doing here and studying the show and stuff. And he loves it. He's all about it. And I give him his flowers, but I just think right now Lake Mary. I just think that, again, other than Dr. Phillips really shutting down Noah, and Noah had his ways sometimes in that game too. It's going to be hard to do that. And Seminole is loaded at defensive back, and and he could have easily thrown 5 touchdowns Monday night. So it's just one of those things where, like, if Lake Mary can catch the football, this might be ugly. But if they play like they did and drop some easy ones against Evans, they can get popped. And
Seminole DB is not better than Evans DB.
I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying, like, it's good talent over there. I would agree with you. I think Evans has probably the best overall secondary, other than maybe West Orange. That are elite. And they beat West Orange pretty handily. The only thing that concerns me with Evans was the Lake Howell game. There was 34-21 at home or at Lake Howell. So that was interesting. But other than that, they've taken care of business. But I think Lake Mary wins.
And Grayson thinks so as well. All right, this is another big docket. Osceola goes to Apopka. Osceola's been on a roll. They're at 4-2. Apopka's had literally 3 weeks off, guys. They had a bye week. You had the hurricane week. Have the Blue Darters gotten the things they needed to get changed to win this game?
In all due respect, no. It'll still be the same players that's going to come on the field. No disrespect to those young men. It's just a learning process, and it's just not their year. We've seen this team be dominant in years past, going to multiple state championships in the last 4 or 5 years. These two programs have a lot of respect for each other. Coach Rosen obviously knows this program, Cowboys, very well. But I think Osceola is going to go to Apopka. They're going to dominate them and get ready for the postseason. And that's it.
Baylin?
Yeah, I feel for Apopka, man. I was with Tyson. He came to training on Saturday, and just the overall feel is just it's heartbreaking because this is a team that's obviously historically awesome. And it's crazy that we're talking about a 3-3 team. They're not like they're 1-5 or 1-6 right now, but at the same time, we know the standard, and it's just not even like close to what it was and has been. I think Osceola routes Apopka. I don't even think it's close, guys. I think this is a blowout, a mollywop, like I used to say. I think this is gonna get. It's almost like you have two identical style of offenses, and one's just a lot better right now. And they never went away from it. They know their identity. Osceola is who they are. I think Apopka kind of went away from their identity. They're starting to figure things out, and then they realize, oh my goodness, now we're playing catch up. And now by this time, it's like this: the players don't even buy in. It's like it's just up and down. Osceola is consistent right now. It's not going to be pretty, guys. And Dan, I feel bad for your Apopka Blue Darters, but yeah, I don't see them winning on Friday.
I do want to say this in Apopka's defense. I do want to say, in this day and age of the transfer portal, no school in Central Florida sees or like Apopka doesn't. They don't get transfers. They don't have the.
You brought that up, AJ.
They don't like Edgewater gets transfers every year. Even I love Jones, Dr. Phillips. All of those schools gonna get transfers. Apopka don't get nothing, and they actually get players that leave to go other places. So I don't know, man. They just gotta figure it out, man.
I like that. Yeah, and I would say the same thing for Osceola. I mean, if you think about it, they're not the ones getting the transfers in and whatever. I mean, obviously their county. If you can go to the school, it's like, I think, school choice in Osceola County. So a lot of the best talent goes to Osceola, but still they're in that community, just like Apopka has their community. Almost similar stories, but I agree with you, AJ. I mean, no one's going to Apopka. Those guys are bred from 5 years old in that same darter offense all the way through, and they bleed that blue and white, and they're going to represent the A And unfortunately, some of these guys that see the trend, they transfer to other places like Wekiva and Ocoee and West Orange. But the people that are on that roster right now are on that roster because they are in that community and they're not out there looking for people to come in. So I do respect Apopka for doing that. It's just, man, like you said, it's not one of their years.
Yeah, and I tell you, they're in danger of not making the playoffs in over 20 years. So again, I agree with you. I came from that thread of we came from that dirt, and the guys that are at Apopka are Apopka. And they're going to find their way through this. I know that for a fact. But, they got robbed from that game from Cocoa on Thursday night. We don't know if that's going to be rescheduled yet. Hopefully that does, just from a standpoint of it is an experience, right?
They need that. They need those points. They need the points for
they've got they need the points. Yeah. So Osceola, you got Osceola, big time. Their schedule is ridiculous. You could take a lot of schedules around Central Florida. Popka's schedule's sick. They got Osceola coming in town. They're going to Madison County next week. And then they end up with the Battle of the Mayor's Cup between Wekiva. So, and if Cocoa gets thrown in that Week 12 situation, which is most likely going to happen if it gets rescheduled. But the Blue Darters have their hands full this Friday night. All right, another big game. Ocoee at 5-2 goes into Winter Park to take on those Wildcats, AJ.
Yeah, man, I don't know what Baylin thinking. You ain't see Ocoee in the last couple of weeks. That Winter Park, in all due respect, they're not stopping Jamarian Robinson. Josh G has been playing terrific, complimenting football on both sides of the ball. McClendon, we know Big Mike, he gonna have at least 3-4 sacks against Grant. Like, man, I think Ocoee is gonna dominate this ball game. Last year, Ocoee was on me. They thought I was too critical on them, but I just call it how I see it. This team took their lumps last year. The players who wanted to be there stayed there, and Buck has done a great job building up that culture. And yeah, you're gonna look at Ocoee 6-2 after Friday.
All right, Baylin, you've got the Winter Park Wildcats in this game.
Yeah, it's their homecoming game. And Dan, as I go over this, I would like for you to pull up Ocoee's schedule, and we're going to go over their biggest wins this year. So as I'm going to talk about this, yeah, please do that so we can go through that. But Winter Park, it's homecoming, a lot of festivities. Yes, they're 3-3. I still think they're the better football team offensively here. Maybe not defensively, but I believe their offense is a little bit better right now than Ocoee's offense. As we'll probably see on their strength of schedule here. But this is, I almost went Ocoee here, but I knew this might have been one of the games that I have to play catch up at this point with AJ because he's now up on me on predictions. So I had to figure out one of these games that could go 50-50. I thought he was going to pick Edgewater. It did not happen. So I'm stuck here with Winter Park over Ocoee, but I do believe that they're going to come out victorious on homecoming this week. So Dan, if you could, please go over the 5 wins for Ocoee.
Yeah, I'll have to get to that one later. But
okay, it's convenient. Okay, my bad.
It is because now I have to actually look it up.
You can only who's on your schedule. Bro.
I agree, AJ. No, I agree. Listen, but let's not get that mistaken here either.
Again, you look at who Winter Park's lost to. Okay, I agree with you. It's a home game. I love Eshawn Sutton, what he has offered that offense for Winter Park. Absolutely. We already know. Listen, Ocoee's running game is massively different than what we've seen the last 2 or 3 years, right? Defensively, Coach Gurley and Coach McClendon, those guys have had defense locked down. It's been that missing element, and I think Ocoee has found those missing elements. But you still have Aiden Pouncey. You still have Eshawn Sutton. You have Grant Connor. You've got a lot of talent over Winter Park. This is going to be a good game. This is going to be a really good game. So we'll see how this plays out Friday night. All right, we talked about it. We've got a big one here. Lake Wales. This is a district championship game. 5-1. Their only loss is to who, AJ?
Seminole.
That is correct. Go and play Jones, 6-0, number 1 team in the area. Both of you guys like Jones in this game, AJ.
Yeah, I mean, I ain't gonna pick against Jones too many times. I think in all the years that I've done these shows, I picked against Jones twice, and they've lost both times that I picked against them. So I have a pretty good track record when they're gonna win or lose.
And you gotta be very careful when you pick against them. Then.
Oh yeah. It's for motivational purposes, but I think that they'll handle this. This is going to be a district championship matchup. Lake Wells is a tough team, but I do know that they have a couple injuries at some key positions. I won't disclose all the information, but I think Jones is going to be able to take advantage of that. I like DC. I like Vernell. I like Larry. I like the offense to go crazy. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I think Chico, Courtney Patterson, is going to do a terrific job at cornerback, stopping one of their terrific wide receivers, Mr. Brantley. So, yeah, I like Jones. I like Jones in this matchup.
Baylin, I know you've got Jones in this game, but I love what Darion Coleman has done this season, running that offense with so much talent around him. He has been very consistent with running the offense.
No, I definitely agree with you on that. And I love what Darion Coleman's doing. Obviously, go Canes. But I think that he has a big night on Friday night. I believe he's the difference maker in this football game against Lake Wales. This is a massive matchup. Bryce, not many people know about him. He's the quarterback over at Lake Wales, a phenomenal talent. Showed a little bit of his ability to run against Seminole with 3 big rushing touchdowns, over 150 yards rushing against Seminole's defense in an almost comeback game where they obviously lost 41-38 to snap a 30-plus win streak in the regular season. So could this be the first time we see Lake Wales lose 2 regular season games? I think we're going to see that Friday night. This is a district championship, which is kind of weird. We have a Polk County team versus a Central Florida team for a district title, but that's how the districts, shaked up with how they seed things and how, the number of teams in per class. This is a big matchup, but I do believe Jones Tigers, when you look from a roster standpoint, I don't know much about Lake Wales. I do know they have some talent over there, obviously, but Darion and company with Vernell Brown, I was at their practice today and I'm watching them, and it's literally watching a college football program, how Coach Elijah Williams runs his program from the periods to how they move from water breaks to indie periods to team periods to inside run to, just Skelly. It's awesome to watch. And that's why you see Jones the way they are every single Friday night. And it's just like a well-oiled machine. And I would be shocked if Lake Wales comes into Jones and takes away a district title. I don't think it's happening. And I'm going Jones Tigers all the way.
All right, guys. Another big game. Tavares now at 5-2, going in to play the Hornets at 4-1.
Yeah, Bishop Moore at 6-1. That's a complete a good ball club. Coach Hedrick has those boys playing really good football. Obviously, they took a beat down to St. Thomas Aquinas, but that's gonna happen when you play teams of that caliber. But I think that they'll handle Tavares, and I like Bishop Moore to come out victorious on Friday.
Baylin?
I know, Dan, I think you're gonna try to be at this game. But I just wish Tavares would have, and for this sake of this matchup, beaten Mount Dora, because it would have made this thing a lot more interesting, right? But they didn't. So I believe Bishop Moore is gonna wax Tavares. When I say wax, I don't think it's close, guys. And I believe they have the best linebacker in the entire state, if not the country, one of Williams. But Bishop Moore in offense and Jurgensen, Bjorn is playing crazy. He threw 5 touchdowns Monday night. We didn't even talk about that game. They blew out, I think it's Eustis Friday night, put up almost 70 points on them. Bishop Moore is going to wax Tavares. And I love Tavares, what they're doing this year, but I call a spade a spade.
Yeah, and I think I made a mistake. Actually, I believe Bishop Moore wins the district with this win. I think they finalized the district, if I'm correct.
Well, they beat Mount Dora.
I think I said Mount Dora won the district, but I think I'm pretty – I need to go back and check. I should have checked this before.
Yeah, Bishop Moore already beat Mount Dora.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this win solidifies it.
Correct. And if Tavares wins, then it'll be a 3-way tie.
3-way tie. Right. So this is a significant game, and Tavares has a lot to play for in this one. All right, another big game. Number 5 Seminole goes and plays TFA, First Academy. Both 6-1.
Dan, if it was TMA, I'm going Seminole all day, but it's TFA, so let's get that right. Masters is not playing Seminole. First Academy is playing Seminole, and I love TFA in this matchup. I hope Michael Clayton comes back just for the sake of the city and what we want to see in this matchup. Because again, are they going to come up with the excuse, well, we didn't have our quarterback? So I hate those type of things. Next man up when you're Seminole, Jason Williams, if he starts again, I believe he's going to do just fine against TFA. But man, TFA, that resume speaks for itself. They have dominated great opponents. Guys, I mean, we're talking nationally ranked teams, state ranked teams. They have won these matchups. Obviously, they have the loss to the 7th ranked team in Georgia, but I just love this team. They're a complete football team, well coached, has awesome people around in the community, and they're playing at TFA on the turf. You put those guys on the turf, they're faster, and I just think this team is the real deal. And I believe even with Michael Clayton, even if Michael Clayton plays Friday night, I still believe TFA can win this football game. So regardless, I'm going TFA here, and I hope Michael plays.
Yeah, I did too, but I want Michael to get healthy. Seminole's got to start looking at the playoffs and everything else.
Yeah,
so
obviously a healthy Michael, not just someone who's trying to play in a big game. A healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. All right, the Varsity Sports Nation game of the week.
I want to hear AJ Brooks talk about that game, please.
Well, I was going to slide. I was going to slide. Man, I mean, obviously, if Michael Clayton plays, I think that they'll have a better chance. Even if he does play, there's still the question mark on the injury and how significant it'll play a factor in him being able to play to his ability. It's easy to say next man up, but especially at the quarterback position, when you lose your quarterback, especially a quarterback who has 30+ power Division I offers, like,
no, it's hard to replace Michael Clayton.
You ain't replacing that. No, it ain't hard to. You're not replacing that, and that's no disrespect.
He's the top 10 quarterback in the country. Yeah,
correct.
Well, not only that, you're not just replacing talent. You're replacing leadership. I mean, that's Florida State right now. Right?
Yeah, and that's
no more than talent.
Yeah. So, but with all that said, TFA that's a juggernaut right now, and they rolling. They got the momentum. So yeah, I like TFA to stand on business.
And I don't think those receivers are dropping like Mary dropped. So yeah, you get bad.
All right, the Varsity Sports Nation game of the week. This will be live on Varsity Sports Nation. Mount Dora Christian #1 at TMA, the Masters Academy at #3. And a lot of discussion of why TMA is at #3, but it doesn't matter because it'll get settled this Friday night. AJ.
Yes, sir. It'll get settled. I think TMA Masters Academy is. I think that they'll handle business Friday. It'll be a good matchup, but I think that they're used to winning. It's a winning program. The one loss that they do have against the Providence School, the Providence School quarterback 6'5", 230, and he had 6 touchdowns. I mean, what the hell? What do you want them to? What do you want them to do? So I don't think that they have to deal with that kind of monster. Even though Mount Dora Christian does have some athletes, they don't have any Megatrons. So for that reason, I'm gonna go with the Masters Academy.
Yeah, I believe I made a mistake here. Mount Dora Christian's undefeated right now, so they're 6-0, I believe. And I believe this is the last regular season game before they start the SSAA playoffs. I believe is next week, correct?
I thought Mount Dora Christian lost to somebody.
I think Mount Dora did lose. I think they lost.
Didn't they lose to like the Villages or somebody? Or?
No.
I forget. Let me see.
Go ahead and look that up. But this will be live. This will be live on Varsity Sports Nation. And again, big news on Varsity Sports Nation. They have their live app on Roku. All you have to do is go Roku. We will actually be live on the Roku app next week. It won't just be Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. You can go to Varsity Sports Nation and see replays of every game, all these sports. There's some big news coming from Montavious McCullough, the owner of Varsity Sports Nation, coming up. And if you go watch the 24/7 channel, you'll see some content on there that will kind of give a clue of what that news is. But this is a movement, and I like what Ontavious is doing. Obviously, he's hosted our platform this year, but he's already done a few games with Bishop Moore. He's getting his feet wet. He's got his crew together. This is a big game coming up, and guys, we are ready for week 8, Baylin.
I got to give you my synopsis of this Masters game. Here's one thing you guys probably don't remember because you probably don't pay attention to it, but every single time Mount Dora Christian has played Masters, guess who's won?
TMA.
Yes, Masters. They know the formula. No matter how good Mount Dora Christian comes, when they meet in the state championship game in Lakeland, Masters Academy has won their state titles over Mount Dora Christian Academy, and they've been ugly wins. So I look for Jackson. I'm glad. I was so glad AJ brought that up because that was the point that I was going to make. Mount Dora might be legit, but they don't got a quarterback like Providence had that gave Masters problems. And by the way, that game was 35-35 in the third quarter. It was close. So Jackson Stetcher is a good quarterback, and they were going throw for throw until midway through the third quarter. So I love this program at Masters. I think Garrett Kruzik and his dad are phenomenal coaches and offensive minded. We're trying to throw 40 times a game and score 80. So look for this to kind of, I would say, lopsided on Friday night for Masters.
And again, I want to point out freshman quarterback Jackson Stetcher.
My man.
This kid's got 3 more years of high school. That's scary to me.
Hey, Dan, is this our last game that we're talking about tonight?
This is the last game we're talking about.
I want to talk about the game that I might be going to Friday night, and that is Windermere and Lake Howell. I plan on going to that. I told Jack that I'd go watch one of his games this year. This is the last home game. I got to see what Windermere's cooking up. They're scoring an average of 43 points a game. I mean, they thought this independent league was going to be somewhat competitive. Windermere said, no, we're going to show you guys. We've taken receipts, and I talked to Ricky today, and he laughs about it because he wants to stay humble because he wants to get the 10-0 mark. But I said, Ricky, you really are showing yourself this year in this thing because all these same teams, we're talking Cypress Creek, Horizon, even the team they just played, Oak Ridge. These teams blew out Windermere 2-3 years in a row. And Ricky, don't forget. So now he's.
What was the score against Oak Ridge? What was the score against Oak Ridge? That
was my alma mater, but they beat them Monday night, 52-6.
Ooh.
So, it's getting personal right now for Windermere. I saw today. I don't know if you guys saw this, but Chris Hayes put out their coaching polls for their top 16. That was pretty cool. The coaches vote on it. Windermere was the only independent league to get votes from coaches to have them in a top 16. Which, again, we can argue that all day long, but they are putting up crazy numbers. Jack Riley, 24 touchdowns, 1 pick, 7 games, unbelievable. Obviously, the quality of opponents, that's another conversation, but they're handling their business because the last 3 years, they're supposed to be part of that quality of opponent, and they've completely said, no, we're the top dogs in this league, and people are going to start noticing and talking about us, which is great in an area where Olympia is struggling. You know, you have West Orange right there. So Dr. Phillips, so you start to get that winning culture. Guess what? Those kids are going to stay at Windermere High School, which is a beautiful facility, beautiful school. Oh my goodness. This is the start of maybe something crazy over at Windermere High School. So
no, absolutely. And that's the beauty of having independence is allowing programs to compete, right? And if you can be, if you have a Windermere program that goes undefeated and now you shift them back into the regular scheduling of Orange County, then you've got something. But I want to bring up a young man that nobody's really talking about. He's starting to get some recruiting attention, but CJ Bronow.
Yeah.
He's caught a few of those touchdowns. He's playing both ways too. He's playing wide receiver and defensive back.
That kid right there, if you watch him on a track, you could forget about it. He's got 19 D1 offers on track. I mean, we're talking Oklahoma, Florida, Miami. We're talking big programs. I've offered this kid to do track and football. So, yeah, you want to see an electric player from Foundation who went over to Windermere, which is a home run hit. That's your guy. So I'm excited for Friday night.
And his brother was a hell of a player of Foundation too, JT.
Yeah, that's the fastest kid in Central Florida, man.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. That's what I'm saying. I think that is a name that we're going to be looking at here in the offseason as the camps start coming around. I know. I just got noticed. We got Prep Red Zone Camp coming here in January. You've got Rivals Camp coming up here, I believe, in February. The Under Armour All-American game is going to be back in Orlando here in January. We got a couple kids from Central Florida playing in that game. And the Under Armour All-American game is actually playing some juniors this year. So that is the best of the best in the country, and that's what we're going to see coming up here. But, all right, guys, we actually stretched this thing out. So, Great show. We had a lot to talk about heading into this week. We're going to have a lot more. And maybe we'll get Hassani Harper to come over and talk a little bit more about Lake Wales when we see the results of that Jones game here Friday night.
AJ,
all right, Baylin, final thoughts, Baylin.
Yeah, AJ, what game are you planning on going to?
I don't know. You going to that one? I was either going to go to Jones and Lake Wales, Lake Mary or Evans, or DP Edgewater. I don't know which one to go to.
And then you got TFA and Seminole at TFA.
Yeah, but that one watered down, to be honest with you. So I ain't worried about that one. So what y'all think? Which one you think I should go to?
I think you should go to Lake Mary Evans.
I do too, because that's like that's for
especially when you picked Evans for the upset. So
I'm gonna go to that one. I'm gonna go to that.
I think you should stand there and win.
But I'm gonna need some play-by-plays from the Jones Lake Wales game. So I wouldn't be mad if you went there either. All right, so I'll just say that. Dan, what game are you going to?
No, I'll be at Bishop Moore Tavares.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, there's some things there that I have to handle. So
we'll spice that up. That is a district championship claimer. So
it really is. I mean, that has some significance there, and it's going to be a fun game to watch. So, but again, we got 3 or 4 more weeks of football here, guys.
That's right. Hey, tune into ESPN tomorrow night. Boston College, AJ Brooks School versus Virginia Tech. I will be on the sidelines for that football game tomorrow night to watch 2 guys that I trained, and Tommy Castellanos and Davy Belfort. So I'm excited about that. They're flying me up there tomorrow. So I'm excited.
And then you fly back Friday to be back here?
Huh?
Big time. And then you fly back here Friday to be here?
Yep. Come on, man.
Big time, man.
It's a great week of football.
And that's at Vautech?
Yeah, Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
All right, so say hi to the team doctor for Virginia Tech, my guy, Doc Goforth, okay?
We'll do, man. We'll do.
So, no, listen, I think we got a lot. Also, want to give a big shout out to Duke hosts Florida State. Preston Watson, a former Seminole defensive tackle, is lighting it up for the Duke Blue Devils right now.
They could beat Florida State for the first time in history ever.
And I see it coming. It's coming.
Who don't see it coming?
Duke is in line right now to play at Miami in 2 weeks.
And lose
with 1 loss.
And lose to have
1 loss. It's coming around. All right, guy. AJ, last thoughts.
Man, my last thoughts is I can't wait for this Friday. I think I'm actually going to go to both games. I'm going to start off at Jones Lake Wales, and then I'm going to leave because I can get to Evans in 10 minutes, and then I'm going to go to Evans for the second half. So I think I'm going to go to both.
There you go. That's a good call.
AJ, you know what? I'll flip that because Lake Mary will probably be up 27-0, and then you can go to the good game, and you can go see Jones and Lake Wales, which might be tight. So.
and I'm sure Coach Odom and the Evans Trojans are taking receipts on that one, Baylin.
Yep.
All right, listen, we're out of here. You guys have a safe watch. Thanks for watching us tonight. We enjoyed doing this show. You're watching the Central Florida High School Scoreboard Show. For AJ Brooks and Baylin Trujillo, I'm Dan LaForest. We'll see you next week.